Hello and namaste everyone. Thank you very much for taking time to tune in. Wishing you all a very happy 8th United Nations International Day of Yoga. Everyone is celebrating on June 21st, 2022. I'm really honored and pleased to be in front of you to share some of the insights from the ancient yogic wisdom. I would like to share with you some of the knowledge, insights, and wisdom about how yoga can help develop oneness of humanity. We all know today the world is in quite a bit of chaos and turmoil. We are all divided in the name of race, religion, culture, nations. We are trying to be different from each other, even though we all are in fact similar to each other. And the essence of today's discussion is to realize that oneness. How can we develop oneness? How can we build unity in diversity? How can we decimate the separation between us and bring oneness between all of us? So for that, we will explore some of these insights. Now, if you look at each of us individually, if you look at everyone, like right now, if you look at yourself, we all have this physical body. We have this body which is made up of organs, which is made up of tissues, which is further made up of cells, trillions of cells in our body. Now, I have exactly the same type of organs and tissues and cells which you have. I mean, right there at the first level, we can see that oneness. I am no different from you are. And now if you go further down into the cells, of course, cells are made up of nothing but biochemicals. And if you further break them down, what you see is atoms. If you further break them down, what you see is subatomic particles, electrons, protons, and neutrons. So right away, we can say that we are in fact a bundle of the subatomic particles. And if you further go down, now modern science is finding it, ancient wisdom already kind of knew what is there behind the scenes that is regulating all these subatomic particles, which is that consciousness, which we will talk about in a moment. But even if we just stop at that subatomic particle level, electrons, protons, and neutrons and quarks, we are nothing but these simple subatomic structures at that level, which means that I am no different from who you are. Then why are we going through this separation? In fact, even if you now take a step forward, I am breathing the same air that is spread around the entire globe. It is the same air that I am breathing and the same air that you're breathing. It is the same food that I'm eating and you're eating. It's coming from the same source. The same plants, same trees, same vegetables, same fruits. They may be different tastes, they may have a different texture. I might be eating the carbohydrate in a different form called rice or wheat. You might be using the same rice and wheat in a different form and making pasta or rotis or whatever, bread. The forms and names are different, but you see the source is one. We are all eating the same food, but yet we have those differences. I mean, I know people actually make fun of others when they even look at the type of food that others are eating. I've seen this at a younger age with children where they're in schools and then somebody is eating some type of food and the other one is obviously eating different food based on their culture. And then immediately children try to point that out and say, oh, what kind of food are you eating? Right? So there is this separation. There is this unfortunate state of mind which is separating it. So who is doing the separation? What is the root cause of the separation? It is that mind. It is that mind which is separating it and saying, oh, you're eating that type of food. I'm eating this type of food. You're wearing this type of dress. I'm wearing this type of dress. But at the end, if you look at any dress, it is made up of cotton. It is made up of textile. If you break this cloth down, you have threads. If you break the thread down further, you have the fibers of cotton. What is the source? Cotton. So that realization is what we need today. That is the understanding we need today, so that we bring that sense of oneness and unity between humanity. But then the problem is the mind. We just noticed that it's the mind that is deluded, the mind that takes us into the state of separation. Now, we have noticed some simple practical examples in our day-to-day life and realize how similar, how unified we are. In fact, we can now even take a step further. At an emotional level, you will realize how similar we are. We all go through similar types of emotions. We go through love, we go through hatred, we go through pain, we go through pleasure, we go through happiness, sadness, anger, frustration, jealousy. We all go through these, don't we? Right? Which means that at an emotional level, we are also one. We are all one. Now, we'll take another step forward. Now, when I'm experiencing certain type of emotion, it impacts the other person. We don't need complex logic for this, right? If I'm going through some pain, people around me will realize it, like my family members, my friends. If I'm sad, they will experience similar sadness and they will respond to that immediately. And it is because of a quality that we all have called empathy. Empathy is to put ourselves in others' shoes and feel their pain. So because of that empathy, we feel the pain of people whom we actually don't know most of the times. In the very recent times, there is so many traumatic events happening across the globe. And when you hear those events, your heart pains, your heart melts down. You go through that pain and frustration inside. Why? Why them? Why are these people going through this trauma? It is because of that empathy. In fact, science is now finding the root of that empathy, which is called the mirror neurons in our brain. Mirror neurons in our brain are supposed to be triggered whenever we see somebody else going through a certain type of emotion and we respond to that. And in fact, these mirror neurons are also called as empathy neurons because they are the foundation of empathy. In fact, that now takes us slowly into the yogic wisdom, where the yogic wisdom says that we are all one self. In fact, the foundation of empathy is that one self. That self, that I which I have, is the I which you have, and it's the same I which everyone has. In fact, we all use that I, don't we? We all use that I in our day-to-day life to refer ourselves. Have you ever paused and questioned, what is that I? That I is the self. That self which is there inside me, that is there inside you and inside everyone. And in fact, now let's take a few examples from the yogic wisdom to understand the essence of this oneness, essence of this unity in diversity. In fact, the great yogic wisdom comes from many thousands of years from ancient India, and there are texts called Upanishads. These are sacred texts. These are not like religious laws or rules or guidelines. These are realizations of these ancient sages who have spent time in self-introspection, self-reflection, and going into deep states of meditation. And these are the absolute truths. These are not relative truths. We'll talk about that in a moment. What is relative and what is absolute? But these sages have realized the essence and have written these ancient texts. So these are very practical, experimental and experiential texts. That is why it is called wisdom. It is not because somebody read something and written it. Somebody has experienced something and have experimented with that and with many people around, and they have come to these conclusions. So now let's look at some of these beautiful lines from ancient Upanishads. One of them is Ekoham Bahushyam. This is from Upanishad called Taittiriya Upanishad. Ekoham Bahushyam, which means from one, many are created. From one source, many are coming out. And now, if you want to take an example from our life, day-to-day life, to support this statement, if you look at a seed, simple mustard seed, You throw it in the soil. What happens? It sprouts, it starts to become a plant, and that plant grows bigger. It starts to have branches, leaves, and then flowers. And then, eventually it also produces seeds. And those seeds again fall into the soil, and it produces again a sprout. That sprout becomes the trunk, the branches, and the leaves and the flowers. See how that one seed has become many. That is the very essence of Ekoham Bahushyam, which means that we are also coming from that same seed. The seed is that self which is there in everyone. And that self has sprouted into so many beings that we see in this world. And that self is also called consciousness, pure consciousness or Brahman. So, Ekoham Bahushyam. Now let's go to another beautiful line called Eko Vasi Sarva Bhutantaratma. Eko Vasi Sarva Bhutantaratma means there is that one indweller in all the beings. Now this is very similar to the first line, but see how differently it is approached. The first one says, many have formed that one. Now the second it is saying that one, Ekoham, Ekovasi, Sarva Bhutantaratma. Eko means that one, Vasi means indwelling, in all, Sarva, all, Bhutantaratma means all the beings. Not only beings, everything, objects, inanimate objects as well. It is all pervading. Eko Vasi Sarva Bhutantaratma. Now, how do we try to understand this? I'll give an example. When we look at a pot, a clay pot, we look at an individual pot and we see, oh, that is a nice pot. But if you look at many pots out there in different shapes, different forms, different names, we give different names based on the different style the pot is made up of, depending on the shape that they are made up of. See, who is giving that differentiation? We, the human mind, is differentiating them into different names and forms. But where did all these pots come from? They all came from the same clay. The person who is making these pots is taking this bundle of clay and is creating these different pots. And what happens to those pots after some time? After using for over a period of time, those pots merge back into that clay. They become the clay again. So they start with the clay and then they go back into the same clay. Now we can even talk about another example. We use a lot of gold ornaments, especially women, right? A lot of necklaces, bracelets, earrings. Now when you look at all of these individual ornaments, our attention of course goes into the ornament, the shape of the ornament, the beauty of the ornament, the color, the size, the weight, all these qualities of that object. We focus on that object. But if you look at all these 5 or 6 different types of ornaments, they're all made from the same gold. So what is the source here? Gold. From gold, we created these ornaments. But our focus is on the ornament, not on the source. So what is the problem? Where is the problem? The problem is not in the objects. The problem is not in these different ornaments. The problem is in how we are looking at it. If we look at, every time we look at the ornament, if we start to look at the source, if we start to understand where this came from, immediately our attention will shift to the source. Now, when we look at the ornaments, we start to judge and say, oh, this is beautiful. I like this. I don't like this. Oh, this is going to look very beautiful on me. This is not going to look beautiful on me. You see, the separation, immediately the mind starts to separate everything. But for a moment, if you reflect, take a step back and contemplate, It is the same gold that has become so many ornaments. Another beautiful example. And we can go on and on and on like this. The problem is we do not focus on the source. Same with us. When we look at a person, we are immediately starting to judge that person by the name and the form. First thing, your name. Oh, based on the name, what religion he could be, what country could he be, what culture he could be. Based on the dressing, oh, he's probably from India, he's probably from Pakistan, he's probably from China, he's probably from England. Right? By just looking at the appearance. And then the next level is when they start to talk, when we start to infer their thoughts and infer their emotions, another level of judgment, another level of separation. So physical separation, very quick. Mental separation, emotional separation. See how we are using our mind to separate and say, oh, this person is so and so. No, I won't get along with this person because this is separate. But now for a moment, if you take a step back and try to understand on a few points that we have pondered in the beginning of this discussion, that person is same eyes, same ears, same nose, same organs, same cells. So how is that person different from you? Just because that person has a different culture, name, form, language, food habits, we are immediately separating that person and we lose the essence of oneness. Now, the third and very most important and very powerful line from this great ancient text called Chandogya Upanishad is Ekam Eva Advitiyam. Ekam Eva Advitiyam means all that there is only one. One without second. One without second. Now this is even more powerful. They're saying, in fact, there is only one. There is no second actually. How can we realize that? I am looking at this world. I see so much of duality. There are opposites. There are opposites in everything I see. From the time I wake up, I see day. At the end of the day, I see night. There are opposites right there. There is right, there is left. There is good, there is bad. So there is duality everywhere. When we look at the world, there is duality in our emotions, pain and pleasure, happiness and sadness, anxiety and depression. So we see the duality in everything. How can we realize that oneness? How can we get away from the duality and see that this whole universe as one? And that is where this ancient wisdom, yogic wisdom, has given amazing tools to help us realize that essence of oneness. The practice of the journey into this yogic wisdom using different tools that are provided will help us get there. In fact, when I came to ancient sage Sunitama 16 years back, I was also living in that separation. I was also living in the judgmental world. I was also going through the duality. But I couldn't see the reality. Like a great man said, a dual mind is half blind. We cannot see the reality as it is. We misunderstand people. We have misconceptions about the world. We mistreat the people because of that. But that one meditation that I had started to change my perception. In that one meditation of Sukshma with ancient Sage Sunitama, mind came to that stillness. When that mind came to that stillness, I started to see that oneness. So to realize and experience that oneness, We need to calm the mind and relax the mind. And that's the pursuit which we are all in. In fact, in the modern world that we all live in so much of chaos and distraction and destructive attitudes, the mind has become even more fast. At least in the ancient times, even forget about ancient times, talk to our parents and grandparents, their life was slower. Their minds were calmer. But today, so much of anxiety everywhere. That anxiety shoots up, and then whatever shoots up has to fall down. Depression. Anxiety, depression. Anxiety, depression. Mental illness is pervaded in every corner of society, my dear friends. So don't you think that it is time for us to take charge? Take charge of understanding this mind. And in that anxiety and depression, what are we doing? We are building walls after walls and creating these prisons. And we live in a prison. Not in the prison that the inmates are living out there, but in the prisons that we are creating here. With those attitudes, with those mental problems. And we simply say, oh, I'm going through this, I'm going through that. But there are solutions, my dears. This beautiful ancient yogic wisdom has given a simple step-by-step scientific approach to get to realize that oneness. Once I started to experience that state of stillness and calmness in mind, all those judgments disappeared. All those fears disappeared. Because now I am looking at everything through the eye of consciousness, not through this physical eyes. I am seeing the world through the eye of consciousness. This might sound very complicated, but by experiencing your inner true self, the pure self, yes, the two eyes help you to open up into the world, but you will start to see the world through that inner eye. That inner eye of consciousness, which ancient wisdom calls third eye. Third eye doesn't mean there is a third eye here and that will open up. No. Once you start to see the world through that eye of pure self, you will use these organs to navigate through the world, but they are not the decision makers. Your inner self is the decision maker. And that decision maker, it becomes non-judgmental, seeing oneness in every human being, going beyond those polarities of emotions, dualities disappear. You come into that state of non-duality, Advaita. Advaita is the Sanskrit word for that non-dual state of consciousness. Ekam eva advitiyam. You can add a word Brahma to it. Chandogya Upanishad says, Ekam eva advitiyam. Only one. There is no second. And once you start to experience that, you start to experience inner joy and inner bliss. There are no complaints about anything. There is only acceptance. Your compassion and empathy have no limits and bounds. And this is where you see these ancient sages who have sacrificed their lives for the welfare of humanity because they are not concerned about themselves. They are constantly thinking and worried about others and see how they can help other human beings. And I have been a witness to such an ancient sage in the past 16 years in the form of Sunita Amma. I have seen a human being who lives in that state of non-duality. And initially I thought it is difficult for me to do that. But with constant practice and sadhana and being under her guidance for the last 16 years, I am on that path as well. And I see that I've experienced that oneness with every human being. And every time I'm looking at the other human being, I'm like, how can I help? What can I do? When I see the suffering of this humanity, how can I be useful for the humanity? I've seen the deep divine empathy in Sunita Amma. And that oneness is so powerful that they start to take the suffering of others. I've seen that with Sunita Amma. I see that even now. When people come to her, she becomes one. Not at an intellectual level, not at an emotional level. Intellectual level is the first part of the discussion we had. Yes, I eat the same food, I drink the same water, I breathe the same air. That's an intellectual level understanding. Emotional level one is, oh, I understand your pain, I know, I have been through the same thing in my life. That is emotional. Now the third oneness is at the consciousness level. The consciousness level of oneness is the highest essence of yogic wisdom, my dear friends. Yoga itself means union. Yes, there are so many definitions. They say union between mind, body, spirit. Already there is union. You just have to realize it. Because we are so distracted and disturbed and scattered minds, we don't realize that union. But the moment the mind becomes one-pointed, the mind comes to the self and merges with the self and goes into the heart, then you start to see that oneness. There is someone, I think, who said, the longest distance you will ever travel is from your head to your heart. As long as you're in head, only separation. The moment you come to your heart, oneness, unity. Unity with yourself, unity with everything and everyone around. That unity is the very essence of yogic wisdom. And it is not difficult, but you start somewhere. You find a good teacher, a good master who can help you. Yes, there are yoga asanas. Yes, there is breathing exercises. There is asana, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama. All these things are there. Those are all small steps towards that. The ultimate is to realize that non-dual state of oneness. That realization that all that there is only one. Sarvam Kalividam Brahma. Everything is that Brahman. Brahman is the Sanskrit word for the pure consciousness. It is that screen of consciousness which is there everywhere, on which we are all dancing like puppets. You see the puppeteer show? You don't see the person who's doing the show. You just see the shadows on the screen and we get excited. We are like laughing, crying. Of course, the modern version of that is the films, right? They've all acted somewhere. It's all projected through a reel. There is no real person there. It is just a physical reel. The light is projected through that on the screen. And then these images start to dance on the screen. And we go through a full range of emotions in that few hours or few minutes. We forget. That's delusion. But the moment you realize that there is that screen which never goes away, images come and go, but screen remains forever. Identifying with that screen of consciousness is oneness, my dear friends. So, let us now get into the practice of Sukshma meditation. As always, just sit back, relax. We'll do subtle, simple exercises and then we'll do some meditation. Always bring that breath and smile. Attention to your breath and your smile. Simplest way to tune into you. All this time the mind is scattered outside. Now we need to collect that mind, scattered mind, and bring that into oneness, oneness. One-pointed mind leads to oneness. Scattered mind leads to separation. What do you want? Scattered mind or one-pointed mind? One-pointed mind. Only that can give you inner joy. Only that can give you harmony in relationships. Only that can give you perfect health. Oneness, one-pointedness. So simply just start to bring that subtle smile on your lips. Pay attention to your breath. Enjoy that smile. First, start to enjoy yourself. Don't get distracted with the world. First, come to you. The world exists only because of you. Mano moolam idam jagat. Ancient wisdom says, Mano moolam idam jagat. The world exists only because of your mind. Because your mind drops, the world doesn't exist. When you are in sleep, does the world exist? The physical world drops. You don't even know. Even if a thief comes and robs your house, silently you don't know. Unless they make a big sound, you don't. The world drops dead when you are asleep. So that's enough for us to realize Mano Moolam Idam Jagat. Come to that bliss of your smile. Nobody can steal that from you, dears. That's yours always. Your breath is yours always. We call it the BS technique. Breath and smile. Now let's do some simple relaxation of your body. Okay, just round your shoulders, front to back, back to front. Keep that smile when you're doing this, please. Don't leave that smile. Now put your fingers like this. Just relax your shoulders. Front to back, back to front, clockwise, anti-clockwise. Just squeeze your shoulders, relax that shoulders. See, between your shoulder blades, you keep so much of stress and tension. Use your breath for everything. See, already I am in bliss. Already I am in that state of calm, serene self. Techniques, yes, they are there. You can talk. People ask me, Suman, what is the technique you use? Some people ask, should I focus on the heart? Should I focus on the third eye? I told you there is no third eye, my dear friend. Third eye is the consciousness. See, all these techniques, doesn't matter. Yes, initially you need. But most important that you need is a good teacher, a good master, an embodiment of that pure vibrations who can help clean the mind. Unless the mind is cleansed, it cannot come to rest because all the turbulences are there in the mind. It's made up of all these vices. So it's like a bumpy road. When you go for a drive on a bumpy road, how it is? You feel the bumps and jumps. But now that vices have to be cut off completely. That's where an ancient sage like Sunitama is very powerful to help us clean. It's like dissecting into the mind and saying, Suman, here, this is the one, this is the jealousy. That is a bump there. Here you are overreacting. Another bump there. Here you are having that false ego, feeling proud for every little thing. Another bump there. So we have to cut through those. Cutting not at a physical level, right? It's at the inside the mind. You cannot see. That's why this is called Sukshma. You cannot see that. Sukshma, unknown, invisible. But impact is there on the body. Once the cleaning happens, mind comes to calmness, stillness, your body starts to recharge, rejuvenate, energize. So, techniques, yes. Do some simple exercises. It doesn't matter. You can do anything you want. Press your head like this. Temples. Release any tension. Press your forehead. Press your sides. Left and right. Fold your palms like this. Press your head. Back of your head. Back of your neck. Chin. Ears. See, like scissors. Simple things. Again, don't get stuck at the technique. People say, oh, if I do it like this, what will happen? If I do it like that, see, you're again stuck here. You need to come to the heart. I've never ever asked a single question to Sunita Amma in my 16 years of practice. Never. She wanted me to do something, I just did. My focus was not on the technique actually. Frankly, my focus was on her. Her inside, her essence, her heart. Techniques, like I said, Google it. You'll find thousands of them. Every corner of the globe, somebody will say, Suman, this is a great technique, you try. I'm like, enough of techniques. Give me the essence. That saram we need. The juice. The juice comes from that consciousness, that pure consciousness. Okay? So now tap, simple tapping, simple exercises so that you bring attention to your body, because in the modern world, we are so distracted. You keep your mobile right next to you, there is a message. You open your laptop, there is a message. Somebody sends you a message, somebody tweets a message, somebody posts a message. Oh, goodness gracious. It's all about messaging. So this simple massage will help you to bring your attention to you. See, chop, 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 punch, punch, punch. If we were doing like an in-person session, we would have done some stretching. You can do that now too. Okay? Now, very important, give yourself a nice hug. Bring attention to your smile. Bring attention to your heart. Bring attention to your breath. Your heart, breath, and smile are becoming one. And now start to give this promise to yourself, please. I'll give this promise to myself. Please do this, taking out your name. I'll take my name. Suman, I love you. I respect you. I honor you. No matter what, I'll never let you down. I'll take care of you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. This is my promise to you, Suman. Now just repeat that promise inside your heart. You don't have to say it out loud. Just repeat it inside your heart. Let every cell in your body feel that promise. Be honest with yourself. Give assurance to yourself. And put that into practice every single day. Now slowly come back. Even if you do this one simple thing every day, this is enough meditation, my dear friends. If you can stay that for few minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, this is enough. You don't need 1 hour meditation. You don't need long durations of meditations. Just that awareness of yourself, witnessing yourself. That witnessing self is your eye. You can just keep witnessing it. Moment to moment to moment. Observe. Contemplate. Just relax, my dears, relax. Going deeper and deeper inside your heart. Nice deep inhalations and deep exhalations. All your attention is on your heart. Letting go of any distractions. Just observe and let go. Any distractions from inside or outside. Doesn't matter. Your mind is now one-pointed. Focused on your heart. Spreading that smile into your heart. You're feeling that nice tickle inside your heart. You can feel that heart expanding. Because the walls are all falling down. Expansion. As your mind becomes one-pointed, your heart's expanding. Heart to heart. Then it starts to merge with all the hearts in the world. My heart, your heart, everyone's hearts. Are becoming one. There is no separation anymore. Beyond, beyond, beyond. In the now, 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 now. Your heart is now relaxed, filled with that bliss and love. Your mind is buried inside your heart. Your heart is engulfing every cell is receiving that pure bliss inside you, around you, above you, below you. Letting go of the past, letting go of the future. Slowly start to become aware of your body. Tip of your toes, tip of your fingers. Your smile, your breath. You're just observing. Moment to moment observation. Just observation, not judgment. Let every moment pass by you, but you are just observing. Like a train passing station after station after station. You are just observing moment after moment after moment after moment. You're deeply embedded in that bliss. You're experiencing your being, yourself, that I, which is called the Sat, the absolute truth, Sat. absolute truth, Sat. You're there, here, in this moment. And you're aware of that. That is Chit. Simple awareness, no judgments. Aware of this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment. Your being, that self devoid of all the emotions. The self devoid of all the past. The self devoid of all the future. The self devoid of all the judgments. You are just aware of that self. That is Sat, Chit. And as you are becoming more and more aware of that being, you start to experience bliss, which is Ananda. Being, awareness, and bliss. Being, awareness, bliss. You can warm up your palms, put them on your closed eyes. Just feel that warmth, see that nothingness, emptiness, light, full of energy. You can open your eyes now. This is oneness, my dears. Just being aware. I am experiencing this. You're experiencing this. Everyone can experience this. That is the reason ancient yogic wisdom said, Eko vasi sarva bhutantaratma. That self is there everywhere. We all can become an embodiment of that. If we start to practice every day, to uncondition the mind and tune it into this process, into this essence. I have seen ancient Sage Sunita Amma, who sees everyone the same. She goes into a prison doing the sessions for the inmates. She works with drug addicts. She works with people who are really torn in life, who have done horrible things in the worldly sense. But through her eyes, she only sees that consciousness. She only sees what is that positive, pure awareness in everyone. And she lifts that up, so that all their past decimates. And she creates a beautiful, bright future for everyone. She has done that to me. and to many, many more. And on this day of International Day of Yoga, my humble pranams to all the ancient sages and masters who have transmitted this timeless wisdom down thousands of years across many generations and continuing to flow into the future so that everyone can benefit to create health, happiness, and harmony and live in this oneness of unity in diversity, which again ancient wisdom calls Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We are all one global family. Namaste. Thank you very much.